Hey everybody, welcome back to the Driscoll Hoops video podcast. I am your host, Chad Driscoll. Super excited to be here today. It's a rainy day over here in Arkansas, but the Bulls are playing today, Game 5 of the NBA playoffs against the Celtics. So we are gearing up for that tonight, but I do want to get back to you and talk a lot about hoops and a little bit of life lessons as well that may be able to take you a little bit further on your journey to reaching your potential in your basketball world. So once again, thanks for being here. If you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to the channel here so you can get all of the Driscoll Hoops tips, facts, and all the new content, the video that comes out. So really excited. There's some big things going on in terms of behind the scenes and getting some stuff prepared for some cooler vlogs for you guys. I really just want to document kind of my life process and what I'm going through, and hopefully it's going to share a little bit of insight towards what you guys are going through and connect with you guys in that way. So once again, if you guys have any questions at all, I'm always an open book for them. I would love to get on a call with any of you guys that need a little bit of one-on-one coaching to prepare yourself for that season. So go ahead and reach out. I am going to reach back to you and we will connect. But yeah, without further ado, let's dive into some content. So today's main topic is a thing that I still, to this exact day, have a little bit of trouble with, and it impeded me for a very long time to get things done, to ask for advice, to really, I think, just to better myself. And I think it's one skill, and it is a skill that a lot of people struggle with. And hoping today that sharing some of my insight and my struggles will kind of get you past and over that hump. And that main thing is the fear of rejection. You know, I've thought about it for a while, and that's where I kind of stem everything back to, and it's the fear of rejection. And I feel like for a lot of people in terms of entrepreneurship, whether they're athletes, students, anything in type of, if you're asking for promotion for a job, whatever it may be, everyone's fear is that someone will say no, or that people will think of them in a certain way. And you know, I had that experience when I was a teenager, when I was going through my basketball training, and it was really hard for me to reach out and ask for help. And I think it was a little bit of stubbornness on my part that I thought that I could do it alone, and because I've done it alone for so long, and it got me so far. But what I didn't know is that there were people out there that really knew a lot more than me, and they were much more knowledgeable and wise in terms of the experience that they've had before and the way that they were able to share their experiences with me. And I feel like that was and still to this day, I'm thankful for the people and thankful for the times that I was forced outside my comfort zone. I remember I always go back to PGC because it was one of the first times I was ever forced out of my comfort zone. And Coach Dina Evans, she was a director at PGC for my first session, and she picked me for the first drill on the first day, and she challenged me. And the drill had a lot of details. You had to have a lot of communication. I wasn't really used to that. And so the demonstration with me and another kid at the camp was, it went for about 15 minutes, and she really, really pushed me outside my comfort zone. And to this day, I'm still thankful for that, and really thankful for all the people that have forced me outside my comfort zone along the years. And I do feel like especially over the past few months, I've really gained some self-awareness in who I am and who I can be. And that fear is slowly kind of creeping out, and I think it gets a little bit less scary, and you fear rejection a little bit less each and every time that you get rejected, or that you ask someone for help, or you reach out and step outside your comfort zone. So that is where growth kind of steps. And I hope that you guys can, like I always say, hopefully you guys can feed from my experiences and be able to take those and run with it. So I do want to encourage you to reach out to people for help, especially your coaches, people around the town that you know are good coaches. If you need help with anything at all, I'm sure you've got two people that you're living with, and your parents that are more than willing to help you out with whatever you may need. And have some humility to ask people for help. That's just one thing. If you take anything from this episode or this podcast, or the past couple of episodes, have some humility to admit that you're wrong, admit that you're not doing things correctly, and that you need help for it. And it just shows a lot of maturity on your part, especially from a young kid, young boy or girl like yourself. So always reach out to them. And an easy way to do it, the ways that I have done it, I have committed each and every day to 2 hours of straight asking and hustle. So, for example, a big part of my life, so I'm also a personal trainer on the side as well. So a big part of my life is reaching out to people and connecting. And so I've started this community on Facebook about following my personal training. And a big thing for me is to constantly reach out to people and just message them, just see how they're doing, talk to them. And that was super, super uncomfortable for me, and still is to this day. I feel super awkward just reaching out and say, hey, how are you doing? Because my kind of introvert nature resisted that for the longest time. And I used to make, and still to this day, sometimes I make excuses in my head, or I just find other things to do. But that is my brain saying, okay, let's make an excuse on why we don't have to do this right now. And I've finally started to progress in terms of being more disciplined with getting things done, and really not being too cool for myself to reach out and have a conversation with somebody or ask them how they're doing. And it's taken my personal training business a long way. Once you show that you care, once you show a little bit of vulnerability towards that person, they're much more willing to help you out. And so I would set a challenge for you guys. This is something you can write down if you have a notebook out right now. I'd set a challenge for you guys to contact 5 new experts in the field each day. And that could be, expert in the field could be, hey, your high school basketball coach. It could be someone that you know around town that does, whether it's skill training or you were coached by them before. And then start to reach out and like I said before, go on YouTube and find the best guys that do basketball training or have basketball podcasts such as this. Reach out to me, whatever it may be. Reach out to 5 new people a day and hold a conversation with them. And, sometimes people, they have their work schedules and stuff, and they might not email you back right away, or they might not message you back. So message them again in a few days and just say, hey, just checking in. I just want to know if we could have a conversation, just to pick your brain, whatever it may be. And I venture to say at least 2 of those 5 people will reach out, because those are the kind of people that have been in the situation you are before, especially within this field. Guys, very few guys were the best of the best, and many of the people that are entrepreneurs now doing, whether it's skill training or basketball podcasts or anything like that, they have gone through the grind of the process, and they realize where you're coming from, and they're more than willing to help out. So even if it's a quick message back and forth once every week, hey, that's still some advice that you could be getting that they're charging a lot of people a lot of money for. So have a little bit of guts and reach out to people and set a commitment, set a time. So don't just say, okay, I'm going to wake up today and I'm going to do it at some point. Set a time each day that you have open, whether that's at night when you're watching TV, whether that's in the morning when you wake up before you go to school, or at lunch when you have a little bit of downtime, and you can get out to the library and get on your phone or whatever it may be at school. Just reach out to those people. Message them a sincere message and try and provide a little bit of value to them, and just say, hey, if there's anything I could ever do for you, just let me know, and I'll be more than willing. And a lot of times those guys are looking for whether it's interns or they have some summer positions open with camps, that kind of stuff. And that's some great experience for people to get into. So really reach outside your comfort zone, shoot for the stars in terms of who you're contacting. And I think you'll be surprised at kind of who shoots back. So that's my advice for today. That's the podcast for today. I hope you guys got a lot of great content out of that. And always relate it back to your life. On here I'll talk a lot about basketball. That's maybe a little bit more of a life lesson today, but always be able to relate the stuff in basketball back to your life, because there is a time in life where basketball is probably going to come to a halt for a majority of you, and the lessons that you can take out of there can be lifelong. And I really want you guys to just reap as much value as you can from this entire podcast. So if you guys have any negative comments or positive comments, go ahead and leave them below. And make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get all of the Driscoll Hoops info, tips, and videos. I appreciate you guys. Go ahead and contact me for any questions you might have. But until next time, keep dominating in whatever region you're going, and let me know about your progress. See you guys.